The legendary banner for June 2020 is coming soon, and it's a nice midpoint before our next summer banner. On this special banner, the 5-star focus rate is set to 8%, and the non-focus 5-star rate is always set to 0%, which means any 5-star unit you get is going to be one of these 12 heroes. It's a nice time for getting any 5 stars, but it will be harder to get one specific character. We'll be looking at our new legendary hero, and afterwards we'll talk about our 11 other units you can get. For this month, it's Seliph's time to shine. Legendary Seliph has arrived, and he will be an Earth legendary hero with the Parrot mechanic. For his new form, Seliph is a sword cavalier just like his dad, and he's looking pretty snazzy with that cool looking cape. For his old skills, Seliph has Ignis as his special, so he's probably going to have high base defense. He also has distant counter for being able to fight off all enemy threats, and that's always a fun skill to have. Seliph would then have joint hone defense, which grants +5 defense to the user and any adjacent allies at the start of the turn. Very nice and simple self buff, and Seliph can boost his own defense even higher. For his unique weapon, Seliph has the Virtuous Tyrfing to match Legendary Julia's Virtuous Naga. Slightly off topic, but I only recently realized that Sigurd and Deirdre have Divine Tyrfing and Divine Naga to mirror regular Seliph and Julia's weapons. Now we've come back around full circle. So Virtuous Tyrfing will give Seliph a flat +3 resistance if the foe initiates combat, or if Seliph has less than 100% HP at the start of combat, inflict -6 attack and defense on the foe during combat, and if Seliph makes an attack, he restores 7 HP per hit. Very nice and simple enemy phase tank weapon. Legendary Seliph is probably going to be on the slower side, so Virtuous Tyrfing will always activate on the enemy phase. It provides damage reduction, gives Seliph some extra damage of his own, and he gets HP recovery too. Some very solid tank abilities, and with distant counter, Seliph gets to tank and spank any opponent. By itself, Virtuous Tyrfing is a pretty good weapon, but it becomes even stronger with Seliph's unique B skill, Holy War's End. If Seliph has more than 50% HP and the foe initiates combat, Seliph gets to make a guaranteed follow-up attack before foe can counterattack. Alright, so we have got some things to unpack here. So first off, Holy War's End at its core is a better quick riposte skill. Above 50% HP, Seliph gets a guaranteed follow-up. However, it gets paired with a brand new ability. Seliph makes this guaranteed follow-up before the foe can counter. At first, this may seem like Vantage, but as seen from the trailer, it's not that. Seliph's still going to get hit first. However, after the enemy hits him, Seliph gets to make his counterattack, and then he can make a follow-up attack right afterwards, which he just so happens to get from the quick riposte part of this skill. This gives Holy War's End like an enemy phase desperation effect combined with quick riposte. Seliph is not attacking twice, so no quad attacks here, and any follow-up prevention will cancel out the quick riposte ability like normal. So the usual things like sturdy impact or no follow-up will neutralize Holy War's End's effectiveness. That said, this skill still has really good synergy with Virtuous Tyrfing. Remember, it inflicts -6 attack and defense on the enemy. That means Seliph gets extra damage, and with the desperation type effect, Seliph could get that kill on his second attack. You also have to take into account the 7 HP restored on hit. Seliph tanks a hit, then he gets to attack twice in a row, which means he regains 14 HP before the enemy gets to attack again, assuming they're still alive. In a normal battle, this gives Seliph a really solid game plan. He either gets the kill with his 2 counterattacks, or he gains 7 to 14 HP to tank the enemy's next attack. Seliph could adopt the enemy phase Brave weapon playstyle potentially, but do understand it's not foolproof against some rather common meta PvP skills. In regular PvE content, Seliph looks like a really fun tank with self-sustain and good damage. He would be great with Bravely seen as support, and maybe a healing special would make him even more annoying. We're going to have to see his stats, because whether they decide to completely min-max him could change things slightly. If he's like Harid with sub 20 speed, then Seliph will be all in on the enemy phase playstyle. Unless he has ridiculously high base attack, he probably won't one-shot many enemies even with Tyrfing's defense debuff. If Seliph can get some mediocre speed, maybe by sacrificing some resistance, then you could see more speed focused builds to help bypass enemy follow prevention skills, and it may give him some player phase potential. For example, you could swap out distant counter for Swift Sparrow 3 and try to double units with the middle of the road speed stats. Maybe you could go for steady posture 3 for added guard and you still get bonus speed, although obviously that's not going to exactly synergize with Holy War's End. Personally, I would just accept that Seliph is going to be less effective against units that run follow-up prevention skills like no follow-up, and try to build upon his strengths. Distant counter to fight off range units, and you can take your pick of a defensive Sacred Seal, possibly replace joint home defense with attack smoke. Overall, Legendary Seliph looks like a fun, easy to use enemy phase unit. Probably not going to take over the game, but not many units do. For the rest of this video, let's talk about our 11 other featured heroes. Joining Seliph in the red group is Mythic Mirabilis and Mythic Sothis. Blue has Peony, Legendary Chrom, and Legendary Azura, yikes. Green has Mythic Yoon, Legendary Lin, and Sed. Colorless has Mythic Duma, Legendary Grima, and Eleonora. I also believe that Emerin should be available with this banner in the 3 to 4 star pool. We won't be talking about Legendary Seliph anymore, but he has great fodder skills. You can grab Distant Counter and Joint Home Defense at the same time. Joint Home Defense only requires Fortified Defense 3, so really you could also grab Ignis 2 if you're planning on inheriting all these skills into another high defense tank. For Mythic Mirabilis, she is back again. Mirabilis is a flying sword dancer with a min-max stat line focused on low speed but high everything else. Her unique dance, Whimsical Dance, grants a ally +5 attack and sends out a -5 attack debuff that hits the nearest enemy within 4 spaces, which then spreads to other nearby enemies. Mirabilis also inflicts another -3 attack, defense, and res on foes within 3 columns of her, but only if they have a penalty on them. She is tailor-made for Anima Seasons on Aether Raid defense teams. For her skills, Mirabilis has 3 great options: Fortress Defense and Res 3 for the flat +6 defense and res boost, Sabotage Defense for messing up clumped up enemies, and Defense and Res Gap can give your main tank +5 defense and res every turn from anywhere on the map. Our third red unit is Sothis. She's a very fast red infantry dragon, and her Sublime Surge comes with built-in distant counter, and she nullifies dragon effectiveness. Sirius is a 2 cooldown special that grants bonus damage based on speed and heals Sothis too. She then has attack and speed solo for a +6 attack and speed boost when alone, and Wrath 3 for extra special damage and cooldown reduction when under 75% HP. Sothis' last skill is Time's Pulse, which grants -1 cooldown every player phase if your special is at max cooldown. Time's Pulse can open up some very interesting builds and playstyles, and it works with all kinds of specials. Overall, the red group is really good if you want Legendary Seliph. You have a plethora of amazing skills on offer if you get any extra unwanted units, and they're all pretty solid in battle too. Next we have the blue group, which is pretty interesting. First we got Peony, who everyone can get from completing chapter 1 of book 4 in the main story. She's a flying blue mage dancer, and she is a pretty great support unit. She gives +3 attack and speed to any ally lined up in a current direction with her, and her Gentle Dream Dance gives +3 to all stats for 1 turn and allows the target to move next to any ally within 2 spaces. That effect also spreads to any teammates lined up with Peony or her target, so she can create some very crazy mobility plays. For her skill, Peony has blue dual flying for better arena score, and she has aerobatics to move around her team better. Fortify Res 4 grants +7 res to adjacent allies, and that's a nice buff to have around. Next we have Legendary Chrom, a blue infantry archer. He has very high attack with a bow that grants more attack, inflicts defense debuffs on the enemy, and is effective against armored units too. He can and will one-shot squishy units. With his To Change Fate assist skill, Chrom gets to reposition an ally and then gets to move again. Just like the legendary version of his daughter, I hate running into this Chrom. He's such a pain to play against, and if there's a dancer on the same team, I pretty much accept someone is dead unless I bring along Fallen Leon. For his skills, Chrom does have a good variety on offer. Close Counter lets range units fight against melee attackers. Low attack and defense provides in-combat debuffs and prevents enemy attack and defense field buffs. Rouse Defense and Res 3 grants +6 defense and res self buffs if the user is not adjacent to any ally at the start of the turn. Very solid skills to choose from. Last we have Legendary Azura. She's a blue mage dancer like Peony with similar skills, but she is probably still the best dancer in the whole game. Her Grey Wave's dance ability lets infantry and flying units move 3 spaces, and her Prayer Wheel spreads the highest field buff on a unit to all their stats. Azura is a true game-breaking unit, and I do recommend trying to get her if you don't have her. She's very good in PvE, a pain in the butt in PvP, and just a stupidly strong support unit to have. With Legendary Chrom and Azura in the same group, blue is cemented as a really good color to pull on if you don't have either of them. Moving on to the green group, we have Mythic Yoon. She's a green mage flyer, and her whole shtick is applying debuffs. With Chaos Manifest, Yoon gains +6 attack and a follow-up attack when facing a foe with a penalty on them. She then has Chaos Name to inflict a debuff on foes within 3 columns from her if they have 3 or less res. The debuff changes based on the enemy's highest stat. Sabotage Res applies even more debuffs for Yoon to abuse, and she's a pretty fun flying mage if you can find other debuffing teammates. Overall, one of my favorite units to use from time to time. Next we have Legendary Lyn, who is a green infantry archer. She has okay attack and speed, but is considered one of the less desired legendary heroes because her base kit is just wonky. Her Lawless Decay A skill grants +4 to all stats if Lyn has 2 or more nearby allies, but it only works on the enemy phase, and Lyn just doesn't have that great of stats to tank many attacks. Her Swift Mulligear grants +5 attack and speed if she's near more allies than enemies, but overall doesn't work that amazingly with Lawless Decay. Personally, I would just replace Lawless Decay with Fury 3 to work better with Desperation. If you want fodder skills, Lyn has Speed Tactic as her rarest skill, with Rally Defense and Res and Desperation also available. Our third green hero is Zed. He's a green infantry mage with really good attack and speed. This guy has great offensive stats, and his Winds of Celeste Tome grants another +3 speed with attack and speed solo 3 built in. Attack and speed is pretty much Zed's whole deal, so if you just want ranged magic damage, he can provide that just fine. He does have speed and red solo for some mage tanky potential, and Pulse Smoke is an annoying skill that can stop special reliant enemies. A little boring, but Zed can compete with the newer high speed units out there. Moving on to colorless, we have Mythic Duma. He is a pretty typical armored tank, but is a colorless dragon. With Fell Breath, if Duma fights a foe at less than 4 HP, he gains +6 attack and res and prevents a follow-up attack. He can easily do this thanks to Upheaval, which inflicts -7 damage on turn 1 to all enemies. In Aether Raids, it also turns Duma into a catapult structure basically. With defensive and solo, Duma can be decently tanky, and with Bolt Fighter, he gets a much needed player phase agency. He can be pretty annoying if you have 2 of them on a defense team. Next we have Legendary Female Grima, a colorless flying dragon with some pretty balanced stats. Her Expiration Breath has built-in distinct counter, and her Dragon Skin A skill grants protection from arrows with a defense and res boost too. Grima can be an okay answer to archers on a flying team, but she won't be the best at dealing with them. As a colorless unit, Female Grima can fight off any enemy, but she probably works best in a buffing team. Her best skill is Res Smoke, which applies a -7 res debuff in an area and would be nice for a heavy dragon or mage team. Last unit for today is Eleonora. She's from the Tokyo Mirage Sessions group of units, and as a reminder, they are not seasonal units. Ellie is a colorless infantry archer with some amazing attack and speed stats. She is a very neat archer because her Mirage longbow can prevent the enemy from counterattacking if she has more speed than her opponent. This turns Ellie into a pseudo fire sweep archer and gives her protection from a lot of nasty distant counter threats. She comes with attack and speed push 4 to gain +7 attack and speed when above 25% HP, and if she's preventing enemy counterattacks, she should stay healthy for a good number of fights before the recoil damage sets in. Ellie also has rarely attack and speed plus and speed and defense ruse for that sweet buff debuff combo. Overall, I think Eleonora is one of the better archers in the game, and I really wish I had her. That's going to be it for this video. Do let me know what you guys think about Legendary Seliph, and who will you be summoning for in the comments. Reminder, we still have another summer banner on the way, so good luck saving on those orbs. You might be able to wait to see the next trailer, but I'm not entirely sure it will be out before this banner is over. Good luck to all those who are summoning, and I will see you guys in the next video.